So here's a new way to think of yourself, a new way to look at psyche, and we're going to do a quick kind of simplified version of it. I think that each one of us is an energetic being that has a love side and a fear side. So the love side is really all about all the love-based energies, all the ones we tend to think of as positive, and the fear-based side is about all the fear-based energies, the ones we tend to think of as negative. I believe that each and every one of us has all of these structures, and so there's no one of us that's exclusively good or exclusively bad. We have the potential for all of these things, each one of us. And if we recognize that, I think that we will no longer have the need to project negative things onto others. So there's two sides, and basically they look like that. So on the fear side, there are three parts: the shadow, the shade, and the super shadow. This is the side that filters all of the negative energies. So all the negative energies that you're exposed to come through your shadow. And a lot of these have been laid down in your childhood, year 0 to 7. A lot of the beliefs that you have been laid down very early in your life from childhood. Negative things that you think about yourself or about the world that have been laid down in there. Thoughts that have been thought repeatedly have become belief systems. So what you're exposed to on a daily basis, whether that's an experience, whether it's the television news that you watch, or whether it's a book that you've read, a person that you interact with, a person who depletes you in some way, whatever that may be that is negative goes through your shadow, is always getting filtered there. Down at the bottom here is the super shadow. This is the darkest of the dark places. This is really, hell on earth is what it is. And if you accumulate too much negative energy in your shadow, it'll start moving down towards the super shadow. The super shadow is the place of a whole continuum of very dark energies, from crime all the way through to evil. So in the middle, you've got a safety valve in here that I call the shade. So the shadow isn't as dark as the shade, and the shade isn't as dark as the super shadow. The shade is the place of disease, and that can be physical disease, but it can also be mental and emotional conditions as well. If you get an accumulation of too much negative energy, not only will it make you feel a negative emotion, whether that's fear or anger or jealousy or whatever that may be, but if you get way too much of it, it has to have expression somehow. And often that kind of expression of suppressed negative energy will be as disease. That can be everything from something relatively mild like the sniffles all the way to serious conditions. And if you know the work of Louise Hay, she actually can tell you which negative emotions are attached to which conditions. So Louise Hay, How to Heal Your Life, can really be helpful for understanding that dynamic. And that's a safety valve. It's a way of your body and your life getting your attention to tell you that you've accumulated too much negative energy. Now on the other side, on the love side, on the positive side, let's start with the superego. The superego really is source energy. This is the lightest of the light energy. This is bliss and creativity and peace and joy and real love without conditions. Now this is who we are at our essence. This is who we are. We are each God sparks. We are each candle flames in the light that is the creative intelligence, or the universe, or God, or spirit, or source, however you choose to call that. These are high, extremely high positive energies, and are essentially your higher self, really high energy places. And this is who we are at our essence. Make no mistake. Um, this is what we access when we go to our observer place and we observe all these other conditions, which we can train ourselves to do very easily. Now, having said that, up here is the ego, and I know that the ego, in current parlance has taken on lots of negative connotations. I'd like to suggest to you that that's been for all kinds of societal reasons and misinterpretations of the word and misinterpretations of the notion of what that is. To me, this is the ego or the I, and to me, that's a gift. It's your persona this time round in this particular lifetime. It is everything that you are. It is your personality, it is your body, it's also your frailties and your flaws, but it's your passions, your interests, your calling, all of those things. Now, if you identify only with that, then I can see how you're going to be headed for a problem. If you don't recognize that what you really are is this, wearing this other thing as a garb, I can see how that may create some problems for you. But the ego, or the I believe is a gift in the present. And I would suggest to you that those things that you are given to you for very particular reasons, so that in the fulfilling of those things, you can go and touch superego. And so your ego is a gift that needs to be respected, that needs to be honored, and that is especially about self-love, self-respect, and self-actualization. And in doing that, you can then access superego when you really accept and love yourself. It therefore will become easier to love and accept everyone and everything else. In the middle is the me, because for all kinds of reasons we can't always be authentically who we are. Maybe we're not following the career that's really our calling. Maybe we've forgotten what those things were that we loved when we were children. We feel like there's no time for things, that they're frivolous, that they're not practical. Whatever the reason, the ego is a force, the I is a force that wants you to feel good. And if you can't do that by spending most of your waking hours doing something that you love, then obviously you have to have some compensation. And that's where the me comes in. So the me is the place where there's all kinds of things that you can do to make you feel better temporarily. So that's like eating something that you love, or having a drink, making love, doing something exciting, any number of things. And there's nothing intrinsically wrong with any of those things. They make you feel alive, and they appeal to your senses, and they make you feel fine temporarily. But if you're never respecting your calling and you're using only temporary measures, you're going to get into trouble, because you'll need more and more of that substance, that experience, to give you the same sense of high from it. And what that will mean is that you'll become, to some extent or other, addicted to something. You can see how that becomes a problem, because at that point, then this part starts to get bigger and bigger, and it bulges over and touches into the shade part, this part, which is illness. So all of a sudden, the love for food turns into obesity, and the love for drink turns into alcoholism. The love for playing cards turns into a gambling obsession, and so on. So this whole system is all integrated, and actually right in the middle, there's a piece that coordinates it all. Right in here, there's a piece that coordinates it all that's not on the chart, which is the heart center, which actually coordinates it all. So your job is to do as much as you can to enhance all the positive things on this side by staying in love and love-based emotions, and decrease as much as you can on the fear side. And we are going to help you to do exactly that in the next series of videos. Join us, please.